G'day everyone. I was trying to think of a topic for tonight and I couldn't think of one. And then I just saw something and I thought, yeah, that'll do. Um, it's funny how we take the little things for granted, like the differences between countries. And there's literally thousands of videos out there that kind of describe what we do in Australia, which is different to everywhere else, but stuff it. I thought I'd join the crew. Boring, I know. Um, obviously McDonald's, everyone knows that. We call it Macca's. Gas station, we call it a service station. I think most know that. But we've even got differences in Australia. The power poles, we call stogie poles here in South Australia. They're power poles in Victoria and something else elsewhere. But one of the weird things, I suppose, I just consider it normal. And especially with all the fuel costings and everything else that's going on as well. How do we fill up at a service station in Australia that's different from anywhere else? Well, simple. We just drive in, we get out, and open the fuel thing on the side of the car, and our fuel pumps are basically unleaded diesel, gas, or LPG, or propane. However, you guys, yes, we do run cars on LPG, liquefied petroleum gasoline. And there's different types of unleaded. There's obviously, ones for normal cars, and then some European brands require a different type of fuel, premium, I suppose you want to call it. And so there's actually four things you grab a hold of, and we just fill the car. Fill it up. Put in whatever you want. You can press a button for $20 or $50, or you can just fill up. And then once we've filled up, once we've got everything in the car that we want, simply put the thing back on the Bowser, and then we go inside and pay. And then once we've paid, we come back out to the car and drive home or drive off. I believe in America, what you do is you actually pay for the fuel before you put it in the car. It's kind of weird for us. It throws most Australians off the first time we sort of ever come across it. But apparently it's quite a normal thing to do over there. So yeah, now a few people will say, what if you just fill the car up, get back in the car and drive off? Trust me, there's more damn cameras around these service stations than you could poke a stick at. So good luck with that. If you do it, you're more than likely going to get a knock on the door within 24 hours, and there'll be a couple of policemen standing there going, why are you stealing fuel? Because they've already got your number plate from the cameras, and they're going to come knocking at your door. So the best thing to do is just to walk in and pay for it. You bought it, you pay for it. No different to going to a supermarket or a grocery store where you walk in, you put all the things that you want in a trolley, and then you walk up to the checkout and you pay for it. And there are self-serving checkouts here in Australia where you've got to scan your own things, you've got to pay for your own things, you've got to package your own things. I won't use them because as far as I'm concerned, that's just getting rid of somebody who could be employed. I get that some people use it for convenience, but I don't. That's just something I do. I'd rather see someone in a job than to be using a self-use checkout. Just a short one tonight. Sorry, kind of boring really. Work today was just painful, but it is what it is. And like I was talking to someone this afternoon, it just blows me away. And I think I was trying to explain, and terms that I use are probably different to what most people sort of use, but that's okay. It's it's kind of complicated when you get a house that you know is probably going to cost the better part of over, well, if not close to, then just over $1 million. And the sketch they send through to you is just, it looks like someone's gone through 50 odd different sales brochures, cut out rooms and stuck them all together, in the hope that somebody like me comes along and actually turns it into something relatively presentable. I suppose that's what I get paid for, yes, but oh my God, some of these people just don't think. Like, there were no, like, the bathrooms were just vacant. There was no, here's where I want the shower, here's where I want the vanity, here's where I want the bath, here's where I want the toilet. There was no kitchen. And I mean, no kitchen. I was just meant to guess where it was going, I suppose. Same with the ensuite. The ensuite had no bath, no shower, no vanity. Do you want a single vanity basin or do you want two? You know, do you want somewhere where you can, I mean, if you're spending that sort of money, do you want somewhere where you can have a chair underneath the vanity so the female can actually put her makeup on, you know, set up a makeup table? In the laundry, do you want a pull-out washing bin? I don't know. There was no joinery in the laundry either. It's like, I'm guessing here, seriously. It's like, you know, and I've had other clients where they've come along with 10 folders of various pictures and things like that. They've gone into so much detail. And that's a good thing for me, because otherwise all I'm doing is designing it how I'd like it and hoping to hell they like it too. Because otherwise it's just purely a guessing game. Seriously, it's like, you guys have got all this money, all this time on your hands, and that's what you come up with? Oh my Lord. And you just know that these clients are going to come back with like 500 billion changes, because that's the way they run. You know, it's like, here's a blank page. You tell me what I'm going to live in. You know, I don't know. I've drawn thousands, literally thousands of houses, and every one of those people have been completely different. And that's great. That's the way it ought to be. But it's like, here's a blank piece of paper. We want a house. Okay, how many bedrooms? I don't know. Double garage or triple garage? We've got 2 cars. Double then, I guess. How many bathrooms do you want? You know, do you want a walk-in robe for each one of the bedrooms? What's a walk-in robe? It's where you store your clothes. Oh, I don't know. And how much money are you spending? Oh, this is going to be $1 million house. It's like, you know, seriously? Really? I mean, come on. You know, we've got to start somewhere, seriously. We really do. There's got to be, you can't just go from here to here without a plan, you know, something we can follow, something, you know, that gives me inspiration to draw your house. Oh, no, you just draw whatever you want and we'll tell you what's wrong with it. Oh, okay, fair enough. Let's do that then. Yeah, okay. And people go, oh, it must be great to be able to draw houses. Must be fantastic. Honestly, sometimes it's fun, but sometimes it's like, you know, it's just a wage, really. It really is. It's like, once you've drawn like your dream house over and over and over and over again, you know, because obviously the older you get, the things change. You know, your dream house at 20 is going to be completely different to the dream house at 30, which is going to be wildly different to the one at 40, and everything that happens in between. And, you know, by the time you get to 50, you realise you've accumulated that much crap that it doesn't matter about the house. How big is the shed? And how much storage does the house have? You know, so I don't know. I lived in a caravan for most of my life. So, I mean, I don't know how I went from a caravan and not really needing too much at all to now having, like I said to Ilea today, I've now got a house, a shed, a campsite, and all the stuff that goes along with each one of those things. It's like, how do you go from a caravan to having all this stuff? And God help me if I've ever got to move. Oh my God. I think I've reached the point now where it's like, I'm not going to move. It's too much hard work, seriously. So, yeah, it's kind of, I suppose that's what life does to you. But how did I go from this, from filling up a car with fuel? Oh dear God, I must be tired. And then I had the weirdest dream last night, and I was telling someone, a friend, about it, and it happened, I swear to God, before the alarm went off this morning. Like half a second before the alarm went off, there was like this person in all white, and it kind of felt like they were 60, but they looked like they were in their late 20s. And he certainly he wasn't human. I mean, he looked human, but you could just tell he wasn't from here. And he goes, I think you're ready to go. And funnily enough, I knew what he meant. And he sort of said, but you can only take one person with you. I think you're ready to go. And it's like, and then the alarm went off. And I've been thinking about it all day. It sort of had been in the back of my mind. If you only had one person to take and you knew that you were never going to come back, who would be that person? And for me, being single with no kids, that's incredibly hard. I mean, yes, my mum's still alive, but you know, she's got her husband, so you can't really take her because that leaves him alone, and that's not fair. So, you know, if you're never to come back, that's you can't really take them, and it's and you sort of go down the list very much like that. You know, you sort of look. You start to sort of go, if I could only take one person, you know, who would I take where it doesn't affect anyone else? And that's impossible. You know, so I think, to be honest with you, my answer would have to be, I have no one to take. There's only me. And only because I'm putting, you know, I mean, it'd be very easy to say certain people, but, you know, you've got to think that they've got their own lives to lead. They've got things that they need to figure out. So I think it's almost a test. It's almost it's not an easy question to answer. And they did say person, not animal. So, you know, it's not like you could take a cat, but then even if you thought, well, you know, if I lived on my own and I had a dog, I'd probably take the dog. But, you know, it's an interesting question. I mean, not that I mean, this is all hypothetical, obviously, but, you know, it's like the age-old question, you know, if you were going to a desert island, what would be the one album that you would take? I mean, my answer would be incredibly simple. Time by ELO. Simple. I absolutely adore that album, but that's just me. Others would struggle to actually answer that, because how do you put so many great musical albums into just one, that you, bearing in mind that you could never listen to another album ever again? What would be your one album? You know, they're sort of questions you sort of come across. I mean, especially these days in the age of internet, and that's probably one of the oldest things that have been going around probably since the day the internet was born, and probably before then anyway. So yeah, if you got offered to go somewhere and you knew the possibility was that you were never going to come back, and you got to pick one person, who would it be? Or would you indeed pick someone? You know, because it can't be a selfish decision. You know, you can't just take someone who's in a relationship. You know, you might have a best friend who's got a long-time girlfriend. I mean, I'm sure that best friend would go, yeah, let's go, you know. But, you know, you've got to think of the impact that that's going to have on their partner. Or if you're going to take your mum, what about your dad? Or if you're going to take your dad, what about your mum? Or your sister, but what about your brother and your mother, who are left behind, who have to mourn the loss of not just one, but two? So, you know, I think it's a deeper question than it first appears to be. It's not the most simple question. And some of the questions that we get asked aren't simple. You know, they may seem perfectly simple at the time, but the more you think about it, the more you go, well, actually, what about this? And life's kind of full of those little questions, you know, do you want to go to the shops? Sure. You know, but what about the stuff that you're doing at the time? You know, that has a deadline on it. You know, it's your decision. It's these little decisions that shape us, and that makes us go, you know, makes us who we are, really. And they're not sometimes the easiest ones to make, even though they're perfectly and utterly simple. So, but anyway, I'm going to leave it there. That was my dream. I woke up, the alarm went off, and here I sit. And this video is now 18 minutes long, so I will catch you guys later.